Gru is undoubtedly one of the most iconic characters in modern animation, an anti-hero who has captivated audiences of all ages with his quirky humor, irresistible charisma, and an unexpected dose of emotion. Since his debut in Despicable Me, the character has enchanted viewers by challenging the conventions of the typical animated villain.
Leave a message. Beep. Oh!
Throughout the franchise, we've followed his journey of transformation from an aspiring supervillain determined to steal the moon to a loving father, dedicated husband, and unlikely hero. With the announcement of Despicable Me 4, fans' expectations soared. After all, how will the franchise reinvent Gru once again after more than a decade of success? In this video, we will dive deep into Gru's evolution, exploring how he balances his villainous heritage with his role as a hero and father.
He just doesn't show it on his face or with his body language. Right, Gru Jr., come on.
We will analyze how his story in Despicable Me 4 reflects universal themes of growth, responsibility, and self-discovery. Additionally, we will discuss how the layers that make up the character, from his relationship with his daughters to his inner conflicts, contribute to making him not only captivating, but also multidimensional. Why does Gru continue to be so relevant even after all these years? What makes him one of the few animated characters to transition from villain to hero without losing his essence? These are some of the questions this video will answer, providing a detailed analysis of his journey in Despicable Me 4.
Yes, a lot of emotions, big life change, less talking, more walking. Come on, here we go.
As we explore Gru's evolution, we will also discuss how he reflects social and cultural changes over the years. Does Gru, with his unique personality and journey full of twists, still have something new to offer? What does this tell us about the longevity of the franchise and the impact of its themes on viewers? Get ready for a time travel experience, revisiting significant moments from Gru's journey while analyzing what the future holds for this beloved character. Origin and villainous personality. In the first film of the Despicable Me franchise, we are introduced to Gru, a charismatic, eccentric, and highly ambitious villain. From the outset, it's clear that he is no ordinary antagonist, but someone who is constantly striving to achieve grand feats and cement his name in history as the greatest villain in the world.
Looking good, Kevin. How's the family? Good? All right.
This desire for notoriety leads him to craft an extremely bold and absurd plan to steal the moon.
They're going to steal.
Pause for effect.
This daring act symbolizes not only his obsession with outdoing all other villains, but also his need for validation and recognition, elements deeply intertwined with his past and psyche.
Some fella just stole a pyramid. They're saying he makes all other villains look lame.
Assemble the minions.
Gru embodies several archetypical traits of villainy. He possesses exceptional intelligence, is a master at creating advanced technological gadgets, and is not afraid to break social rules to achieve his goals. One scene that illustrates his irreverence and disregard for everyday norms occurs when he uses a freeze ray to paralyze the line of customers at a cafe. This act demonstrates his impatience, subtle arrogance, and a belief that he is above the minor rules that govern common behavior. This attitude gives him an imposing and often humorous presence, making him a uniquely charismatic villain. In addition to his transgressive behavior, Gru stands out for his technological ingenuity. His creations, from freeze rays to elaborate spacecraft, are an extension of his brilliant and creative mind. The pinnacle of this ability is represented by the shrink ray he uses to miniaturize the moon, turning an impossible dream into reality. This achievement reinforces not only his position as a mastermind villain, but also the extravagant nature of his plans, which combine absurd megalomania with technically flawless execution. However, behind the mask of the cold and calculating villain, Gru reveals a deeply human and complex side. This emotional vulnerability begins to emerge with the entry of three unexpected figures into his life: Margot, Edith, and Agnes. Initially, Gru adopts the three girls as part of a Machiavellian plan to steal the moon, using them as pieces in a strategic game. However, as he spends time with them, his emotional barriers begin to break down, revealing a side of himself he didn't even know existed.
And without a bedtime story, we'll just keep getting up and bugging you all night long.
One particularly symbolic moment of this transformation occurs when Gru, initially reluctant, reads the children's book Goodnight, Kitten to the Girls. This simple act is laden with meaning. It not only signals that Gru is connecting with the girls, but it also suggests that he is rediscovering a part of himself that had been repressed for years. The tenderness of this moment contrasts sharply with his villainous facade, showing that despite his actions and ambitions, he is capable of showing empathy, affection, and even vulnerability. Another aspect that enriches Gru's complexity is the glimpse of his childhood and his tumultuous relationship with his mother. Although the film doesn't delve deeply into this, small flashbacks and interactions suggest that Gru grew up feeling consistently undervalued and inadequate. His obsession with grand accomplishments can be interpreted as an attempt to compensate for these insecurities and prove his worth, not just to others, but to himself. This psychological dimension gives the character depth that goes beyond villain stereotypes, making him someone the audience can relate to and even root for. Gru's journey throughout the first film is, at its core, a transition. He begins as a villain obsessed with power and fame, but slowly discovers that his true fulfillment lies not in material achievements or recognition as the greatest villain in the world. Instead, he finds purpose and happiness in human connections, especially in the paternal love he develops for the girls. This duality between his role as a villain and his evolution as a father is what makes Gru such a memorable and multifaceted character. With this complexity, Gru stands out as a perfect example of how even a villain can be more than his initial appearance suggests. He is a constantly evolving figure whose actions and emotions reflect not only his internal struggles, but also his ability to grow, learn, and transform. It is this journey that makes him one of the most captivating protagonists in modern animation. Gru's journey is the heart of the Despicable Me franchise. His transformation from a selfish, solitary villain to a dedicated and loving hero is both comedic and profoundly touching, highlighting themes of redemption, family, and the quest for belonging. Each film delves deeper into Gru's complexity, revealing emotional layers and challenges that contribute to his growth as a character. In the first film, Despicable Me, Gru is introduced as a villain who strives for grand feats to establish his reputation as the greatest villain in the world. He lives a solitary life, surrounded by his loyal minions and his assistant, Dr. Nefario, with little interest in personal relationships. His obsession with notoriety and success drives him to plan the heist of the moon, an audacious and technically brilliant act that symbolizes his desire to prove his worth. However, the unexpected arrival of Margot, Edith, and Agnes marks the beginning of a transformation he could never have foreseen.
About that, I was thinking that maybe we could move the date of the heist.
Initially, Gru views them merely as tools for his plan, but the girls quickly start to melt away his cold and arrogant facade. Small moments, like when he tries to ignore their requests for attention or reluctantly participates in their activities, reveal a human side that he had long buried. A crucial turning point occurs when Gru reads the bedtime story, Goodnight, Kitten to the Girls. Despite his initial reluctance, this symbolic gesture shows that he is beginning to let go of his emotional armor. The scene is simple but profoundly meaningful, representing Gru's first step toward vulnerability and genuine emotional connection. This relationship culminates in his final decision to abandon his plan to steal the moon in order to save the girls, an act that symbolizes his redemption and sets him on a new path as a dedicated father.
Margot, I will catch you, and I will never let you go again!
In Despicable Me 2, Gru is no longer the same man we met at the beginning of the franchise. He has abandoned villainy and now devotes himself entirely to family life, prioritizing the well-being of Margot, Edith, and Agnes. However, his transformation is far from complete. Gru now faces a new challenge, making room for romantic love in his life. The arrival of Lucy Wilde, an agent of the Anti-Villain League, shakes his world in unexpected ways. Lucy is brave, spontaneous, and full of life, characteristics that contrast with Gru's methodical and sometimes awkward nature. Their initial interaction is marked by discomfort and resistance, but as they work together to defeat the villain El Macho, Gru begins to develop feelings for her.
See you tomorrow.
This relationship brings out a new layer of vulnerability in Gru. He must confront his emotional insecurities, such as his fear of rejection and the belief that he is unworthy of love. Gru's hesitation in admitting his feelings for Lucy and his subsequent acceptance of her into his life demonstrate significant emotional growth. Furthermore, balancing his new career as a secret agent with his role as a father underscores his commitment to protecting and caring for the people he loves, even as he faces new challenges. In Despicable Me 3, Gru faces another kind of conflict, his relationship with his twin brother, Drew.
My brother! Drew!
Upon discovering Drew's existence, Gru is confronted by a mirror reflecting both what he could have been and what he has left behind. Drew is outgoing, optimistic, and eager to follow in the family's villainous footsteps, which directly clashes with Gru's new life as a hero.
Brother, teach me the art of villainy!
The dynamic between the two brothers is filled with tension and humor, but also explores deep themes such as sibling rivalry, loyalty, and the desire for acceptance. Gru finds himself torn between the pressure to support Drew's villainous aspirations and his commitment to his new ethical and family-oriented life. This internal struggle reflects the central conflict Gru has faced throughout the franchise, balancing his past as a villain with his evolution into a better person. Throughout the film, Gru realizes that despite their differences, he and Drew share an unbreakable bond. His willingness to protect and help Drew, even when their ideas diverge, emphasizes the importance Gru places on family and reinforces his journey of personal growth. This relationship also highlights that while Gru has changed, he still struggles with parts of his identity that connect him to his past.
No. I can't do that.
What? But it's our family tradition. You can't say no to that.
Each film in the franchise not only develops Gru's complexity, but also shows him facing new situations that test and expand his capacity to love and grow as an individual. Gru's transition from a self-centered villain to a selfless hero and loving father figure is marked by challenges, failures, and above all, a humanity that makes him incredibly relatable. This evolution is not linear. Gru does not magically transform into a perfect man. He continues to make mistakes, deal with insecurities, and face dilemmas that challenge him in different aspects of his life. It is this imperfection that makes him so captivating. His story is a reminder that true transformation does not happen overnight, but through small moments, difficult decisions, and most importantly, through the unconditional love he finds in his family. Gru is undoubtedly one of the most complex and multifaceted characters in modern animation. His journey, which spans from stealing the moon to experiencing the joys and challenges of being a father, husband, and brother, encapsulates what it means to be human, a constant work in progress, always learning, changing, and finding new reasons to keep moving forward. Despicable Me 4 presents a new phase in Gru's life, challenging him to deal with emotional, familial, and moral dilemmas that test the limits of his character evolution. After walking the path of redemption and transformation in the previous films, Gru now faces the task of balancing his responsibilities as a dedicated father and husband with the need to protect his family in a world full of dangers and challenges.
Behind that sourpuss, I know you love your dada.
From the outset, the film makes it clear that Gru is facing pressures from multiple fronts. External threats are greater and more unpredictable, forcing Gru to revisit strategies from his old life as a villain. Although he is far from the villain we met in the first film, Gru still carries the cunning, creativity, and determination that defined his initial identity. These traits, which he now uses for good, play a crucial role throughout the narrative, allowing him to overcome obstacles in unexpected ways. One of the main points explored in Despicable Me 4 is the deepening of Gru's relationship with Lucy Wilde. As a couple, Gru and Lucy face challenges beyond action-packed missions. The film emphasizes their partnership, showing how their differences make them a dynamic and effective team. Lucy is the perfect counterpart to Gru, optimistic, extroverted, and extremely resilient, traits that help Gru overcome his own insecurities.
Yes, of course he loves you. He just doesn't show it on his face. Or with his body language.
A pivotal moment in the film occurs when Gru, facing a crucial decision, seeks advice from Lucy, something that shows just how much he has grown emotionally since the beginning of the franchise.
You know what, Gru? Maybe this isn't so bad. We need a break from chasing down villains and dangerous missions, right?
This scene not only highlights Gru's emotional maturity, but also reinforces the message that he is not alone in his battles. He has a partner who shares his struggles and is willing to face them by his side. Furthermore, the film explores the impact of this partnership on their family dynamic, showing how Gru and Lucy work together to create a safe and loving environment for their daughters.
Yeah, you'll get a new room, go to a new school. That'll be fun, right? Everything's gonna be new. We love new.
Gru's family dynamics continue to be the emotional core of the film. Margot, Edith, and Agnes, who have always been the catalyst for Gru's changes, receive their own arcs, exploring their personalities and growth. Margot, now a teenager, begins to seek more independence, which causes conflicts with Gru, who still sees her as his little girl. Gru's difficulty in accepting this change brings both humor and emotion as he learns to give Margot space to find her own path.
What about all my friends?
You'll make new friends, probably better ones.
Oh.
Edith, on the other hand, remains the most rebellious and adventurous of the three sisters. In Despicable Me 4, she gets involved in situations that test Gru's patience, but also bring out his protective side and the unique bond they share. Agnes, the youngest and dreamiest, maintains the role of the heart of the family. Her sweetness and innocence continue to be a stabilizing force for Gru, constantly reminding him of what truly matters in his life. A particularly touching scene occurs when Gru, amid a crisis, reconnects emotionally with Agnes, reinforcing the special bond they share.
It has a vending machine! I love this place!
An interesting element of Despicable Me 4 is the introduction of a new antagonist, whose presence brings a significant impact on the narrative. This villain, who may have connections to Gru's past or represent a new global threat, serves as a mirror for the protagonist, reflecting what he could have become had he not changed his trajectory. The rivalry between the two is not just physical but emotional, with the antagonist challenging Gru to revisit his choices and question whether he has truly left his old life behind.
Humiliate me and get away with it? Yes? What no?
The fight against this villain provides some of the most exciting scenes in the film, but also moments of introspection for Gru. He realizes that his ability to think like a villain is still a strategic advantage, but he fears that by resorting to those tactics, he might compromise the values that now guide his life. This duality between the villainous strategist and the altruistic father creates a deep emotional layer that resonates throughout the plot. By the end of Despicable Me 4, Gru emerges as a more complete and multifaceted character. He learns that his past, though filled with mistakes, does not need to be something to deny, but rather something that can be used as a strength for good. He accepts that his identity is a blend of who he was and who he chose to become, and it is this acceptance that allows him to grow even further. The film solidifies Gru as one of the most human and relatable characters in modern animation. His journey continues to be marked by failures, struggles, and learnings, but also by love, humor, and an unwavering determination to protect and care for those he loves. Despicable Me 4 not only expands the universe of the franchise, but also reinforces the message that redemption and growth are ongoing processes, and that with the strength of family and the support of those we love, it is always possible to overcome the greatest challenges. In Despicable Me 4, Gru becomes a fascinating example of how individuals can be shaped by the experiences and relationships they build throughout their lives. The film skillfully explores themes of redemption, family, and self-discovery, prompting the audience to reflect on the internal processes of transformation and the complexities of human choices.
And thank you for everything.
Gru, now a reformed villain, is no longer defined solely by his past actions, whether villainous or heroic, but by his ongoing quest for balance between his nature and the new roles he assumes in society. Throughout the story, Gru tries to distance himself from his villainous identity, but his choices, both as a father and as a hero, continue to be influenced by the traumas and lessons of his past. This creates a powerful contrast between who he was and who he wants to become. The film, therefore, not only addresses Gru's evolution in relation to others, but also delves into the internal struggles that accompany the pursuit of redemption.
I'll be back soon.
Oh, okay.
Mwah. There's something I need to take care of. Mwah.
See you later, buddy.
Gru's transformation offers a complex reflection on the nature of morality and how significant life changes rarely happen instantly. They require time, effort, and a deep understanding of oneself. Gru's dilemma demonstrates that while noble intentions may exist, actions do not always immediately align with those intentions. The film suggests that change is indeed possible, but it is a continuous process, often challenging, requiring not only regret but also a constant reevaluation of one's beliefs and behaviors.
It's okay, Junior. Dada loves you.
Furthermore, the film reinforces the role of family as the foundation for this process of self-discovery. Gru's relationship with his children, and even with his minions, is a central point that brings out the most human and vulnerable aspects of his character, showing that even when people make mistakes, the support of loved ones can be crucial to true transformation. Through his journey, Despicable Me 4 reminds us that morality is not a fixed trait, but rather a continuous construction, where each step, choice, and regret offers an opportunity for evolution. Gru, in trying to balance his former identity as a villain with the new challenges of being a hero and a father, provides a valuable lesson on the complexity of being human. Throughout the Despicable Me series, Gru encounters several villains, each representing different aspects of morality and the evolution of his own character. The comparison between these antagonists and Gru offers an intriguing perspective on how he has changed over time, not just in relation to others, but also to himself. Vector, the first major villain of the franchise, Vector is the classic example of a young, arrogant, and competitive villain. He prides himself on his intelligence and technological skills, directly contrasting with Gru at the start of the series. Their rivalry is not just about power, but a clash between impulsive youth and Gru's calculated experience. Vector represents the type of antagonist Gru could have easily identified with at the beginning of his criminal career, serving as a mirror of what Gru might have become if he had followed a more selfish and vain path. El Macho. In Despicable Me 2, El Macho presents a more direct and threatening challenge to Gru's heroic side. Unlike Vector, who is more of a competitor, El Macho is a large-scale villain with clear malicious intentions, as well as a formidable physical opponent. He represents a darker test for Gru, forcing him to confront the villains still within him and his own demons. In this confrontation, Gru must balance his heroic inclinations with the tactics of a villain, illustrating his own identity dilemma. Balthazar Brat. In Despicable Me 3, Balthazar Brat is a villain stuck in the past, whose obsession with his childhood and 80s villain persona prevents him from adapting to the present. He serves as a distorted mirror for Gru, showing the consequences of failing to evolve over time. While Gru adapts and seeks a balance between good and evil, Brat represents the opposite, a person unable to let go of their villainous identity. This contrast highlights how much Gru has evolved, not only as a character, but as a reflection of the choices he has made throughout his life. In Despicable Me 4, it is expected that the dynamic between Gru and the antagonists will continue along this line of complexity, further highlighting his position as an anti-hero. He no longer fits neatly into the categories of villain or hero, as his journey has taken him to a more ambiguous space, where the lines between right and wrong, good and evil, are not as clear. This creates an interesting tension with any new antagonist that may arise, as Gru will no longer be the classic villain facing off against a pure hero. Instead, he operates at the intersection of both worlds, which could lead to deeper conflicts and reflections on morality, identity, and redemption. This evolution of Gru, reflected in his interactions with his enemies throughout the franchise, shows how he has transformed from a classic villain into a more complex character who not only faces villains, but also deals with his internal struggles, adding an extra layer of depth to his journey. Since his debut in 2010, Gru has established himself as an unmistakable icon of pop culture, far beyond his appearance on the big screen. His appearance, with his prominent nose, striped scarf, and peculiar posture, is instantly recognizable, but what truly captivates audiences is his emotional complexity and character evolution. Gru is a multifaceted, imperfect, and funny character, making him extremely human and, therefore, deeply relatable. His journey from villain to hero, marked by moments of failure and personal victories, resonates with people of all ages, which explains his lasting popularity.
I know what makes you a boy. Your bald head.
Oh, yes.
Gru's cultural impact extends beyond the movie screen, especially on social media, where the character has become an endless source of memes. The Gru's plan template, which shows him presenting his plans on a whiteboard, has become one of the most iconic memes on the internet. Frequently used to express ideas sarcastically or to illustrate everyday situations, this format went viral, further solidifying Gru as a cultural icon. The meme transcended the film's limits and became widely used for both mundane and humorous situations. In addition to memes, Gru has inspired a variety of merchandise products, including toys, clothing, home decor items, and even video games. The Despicable Me brand has become a highly successful commercial franchise, with products sold worldwide and reaching a vast range of consumers, from children to nostalgic adults. Gru has also become a constant presence at themed parties, cultural events, and conventions, where fans of all ages gather to celebrate his story and his minions, with many dressing up as Gru for Halloween and similar events. His journey of redemption and growth, marked by his search for love and acceptance, is a universal narrative that resonates with audiences. The lessons of empathy, learning from mistakes, and finding a balance between ambition and family affection touch a sensitive chord with people of all ages. This humanization of Gru makes him not just a reformed villain, but a deeply admired character whose story of overcoming obstacles inspires and moves generations of fans worldwide. Therefore, Gru's cultural impact is not limited to his popularity as a movie character. It extends to a vast influence on the collective imagination, transforming him into an icon of modern animation and solidifying his place as a figure that transcends cinema to become part of everyday life and digital culture. Gru is undoubtedly a fascinating character precisely because he defies any attempt at simple categorization. He is a villain, a hero, and a father, and each of these facets contributes to the richness of his personality, making him one of the most interesting characters in animation. Throughout the Despicable Me series, he undergoes a profound transformation, but his traits from the past, both good and bad, never completely disappear. This reminds us that people are complex, and despite significant changes, the influences of our personal history never leave us entirely.